30 mall restaurants we miss that have disappeared. Do you still remember the buzzing noise, the tempting aroma of French fries, and the feeling of freedom as you stepped into a mall food court during your younger years? Malls weren't just places to shop. They were where we lived, where we laughed, where we flirted, and where we filled our bellies with the best snacks. It was a ritual and a social event. Today, we're going to travel back to the golden age of the mall to discover 30 food court restaurants that have disappeared but still live on in our memories. Get ready to dive into a nostalgic flavor you haven't thought about since your plastic neon tray days at the food court. Orange Julius. Half smoothie, half mystery, 100% mall magic. That was Orange Julius. This frothy, ice-cold drink, with its tangy orange flavor mixed with a creamy richness, was the epitome of refreshment on hot mall days. Its secret lay in a special powder, making you wonder how something could be so smooth, so tart, and yet so sweet. The feeling of sipping a cool Orange Julius after hours of walking between stores with the whirring blender sounds and the lingering scent of orange was an essential part of many people's shopping experience. Orange Julius was a symbol of simplicity and sophistication in mall cuisine of its time, a unique combination that no one could perfectly imitate. Although you can still find Orange Julius at Dairy Queen locations today, the experience of enjoying it at its own dedicated counter in the mall food court is long gone. It's just a lingering taste of those mall days when drinks were still mysteriously and wonderfully delicious. Hot Sam Pretzels. Ah, Hot Sam Pretzels, the soft, buttery pretzel that made mall snacking special. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you'll remember the thrill of spotting the Hot Sam logo, with the sweet, baked smell of fresh pretzels wafting through the air. These pretzels weren't just snacks, they were practically portable comfort food. Whether you liked them plain, salted, or covered in gooey melted cheese, Hot Sam had something for everyone. And let's not forget the cinnamon sugar version. Pure bliss in every bite. Hot Sam was the original mall pretzel where it all began, long before other pretzel chains came along. There was a magic to that warm, chewy bite, especially if you had one of those little plastic cheese cups on the side. Founded in 1966 at Livonia Mall, Detroit, Hot Sam expanded to over 175 locations by 1985. The brand even made an appearance in Netflix's Stranger Things, recreating that 1980s mall atmosphere. Ultimately, Hot Sam was overshadowed by competitors and gradually disappeared from most malls, with the last locations converting to Pretzel Times by 2005. Bresler's 33 flavors. Here's a quirky bit of trivia for history buffs, and it involves ice cream and one of the nation's most notorious serial killers. In one of John Wayne Gacy's most famous photographs, he's dressed as a clown and holding a couple of balloons. The logo on one of them is for Bresler's 33 flavors, and when Gacy was convicted, it was for 33 murders. Bresler's was around long before Gacy started killing, and the chain actually dates back to Two Brothers' ice cream truck days, selling their desserts in 1929. While they did expand into other fast food ventures, the ice cream was their most successful offering, with over 300 locations at its largest. Beyond standard ice cream flavors, Bresler's also sold flavors like root beer, licorice, peppermint stick, banana strawberry, and strawberry marshmallow. Founder William Bresler passed away in 1985, and the company changed hands several times throughout the 80s and 90s. Despite promises of growth and more franchising opportunities, that didn't materialize. The last Bresler's 33 flavors location closed in 2007. Burger Chef. Before the Golden Arches became a fast food behemoth, there was Burger Chef, a beloved burger joint with a unique twist, the Works Bar. Imagine grabbing a burger and heading to a self-serve bar overflowing with toppings, where you could customize your meal exactly how you wanted it. For many, Burger Chef was a blank canvas for the ultimate build-your-own experience. Do you remember the sheer delight of piling on pickles, lettuce, or even going wild with ketchup? Burger Chef brought a sense of freedom, giving customers control over their meals in a way that was revolutionary at the time. Established in 1954 in Indianapolis, Burger Chef quickly became one of the fastest-growing chains in the U.S., even rivaling McDonald's at one point. The chain peaked with over 1,000 locations, many of which were nestled in malls and busy shopping centers. But as the fast food market became fiercely competitive and the mall landscape changed, Burger Chef couldn't maintain its momentum. By the early 80s, its luster had begun to fade, and eventually Burger Chef disappeared in 1996, closing a once-loved chapter in American burger history. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Americanized fish and chips with an English accent and a whole lot of grease. That smell wafting 3 stores down. It was the cool kids' move. For $1, you got a golden fried fish fillet sandwich, a paper cup of tartar sauce, and a drink. It was crispy, hot, and made cafeteria fish sticks look like soggy napkins. Some malls had full sit-down Treachers, others just a counter. But either way, if your school had open lunch, this was a power move for the cool kids. That big red and blue sign promised crispy perfection. You'd walk out with your tray, hearing the crackle, crackle, the sound of teenage freedom. And honestly, that tartar sauce, it deserved its own fan club. Arthur Treacher's was one of the American fast food chains focusing on seafood, particularly fish and chips. This chain was very popular in the 1970s and 1980s, with locations inside and outside malls. Although a few independent locations still exist, the chain is no longer a major force in malls as it once was. Fierce competition, changing consumer tastes, and management issues contributed to its decline. Shakey's Pizza. If you weren't a Sparrow fan, chances are you were a Shakey's loyalist, especially in the early 1970s, before the mall food court wars truly kicked off. Shakey's delivered a full-blown party vibe, with communal tables, root beer photos, and the clatter of a player piano echoing through the dining room. Their pizza crust featured a crispy cornmeal bottom and thin, pliable slices. Some Shakey's locations even had small arcade areas or even live banjo music. You'd pile in with your friends, order some Mojo potatoes on the side, and share a pepperoni pie without a care in the world about your waistline. Founded in 1954 in Sacramento, California, Shakey's quickly became a bustling hangout, where families celebrated birthdays and teens hung out, sharing pitchers of cold root beer. By the 1970s, Shakey's energetic vibe and appealing menu helped it expand to nearly 350 thriving locations across the U.S. But times changed. As pizza lovers discovered the convenience of delivery and consumer preferences shifted towards at-home dining, Shakey's festive atmosphere gradually lost its appeal. Eventually, most of Shakey's iconic restaurants quietly closed, though a few scattered locations still exist in Asia. Morrison's Cafeteria. Morrison's Cafeteria wasn't your typical mall food court joint. It was a full sit-down experience with trays, classic Southern comfort food, and the cozy ambiance of a self-serve diner. Imagine walking through the line, choosing between mashed potatoes, green beans, fried chicken, and a slice of pie that was practically calling your name. Morrison's brought a sense of home cooking to the mall, a place where you could take a break from shopping and sit down for a hearty meal. For many, it was like eating at grandma's house, but right in the middle of a bustling shopping center. Established in 1920 in Mobile, Alabama, Morrison's made a name for itself with its Southern comfort dishes. As the chain expanded across the United States, many Morrison's locations found their way into mall food courts. However, as food courts evolved and cafeterias became less popular, Morrison's gradually faded into obscurity, unable to keep up with faster food trends. The stuffed potato. If you were alive in the 1980s, you might remember that the stuffed baked potato had an incredible moment in the sun. And at the heart of that glorious carb craze was the stuffed potato, a fast casual food court spot dedicated to the humble spud. But these weren't just any baked potatoes. They were stuffed, oversized, and almost bursting with toppings. Sour cream, bacon, broccoli and cheese, chili, chives, taco meat, you name it, they piled it on. It was like a baked potato stand in a box, hot, cheap, and ridiculously filling. The stuffed potato had locations in malls like Staten Island and Green Acres, and for a while it looked like it was going to be the next big thing. But like most trends from the 80s, it burned brightly and faded fast. By the early 90s, it was gone, buried under a pile of nacho cheese and good intentions. York Steakhouse. York Steakhouse was a proper steakhouse experience right in the mall, back when the food court wasn't just for quick bites but for dining in. Imagine a cafeteria-style setup where you could order a steak, a baked potato, and even a side of mac and cheese, all at an affordable price. York Steakhouse was the answer for those craving a hearty meal without the hefty price tag. Did you ever wonder what it would be like to sit down for a full steak dinner in the middle of a shopping spree? York made it happen. The food was simple but satisfying, served on those plastic trays with that unmistakable cafeteria feel. Founded in 1966 in Columbus, Ohio, the chain's origins were intertwined with malls. By 1982, York Steakhouse had expanded to nearly 200 locations in 27 states. Ultimately, as malls shifted toward fast food and snack-based offerings, York Steakhouse couldn't keep up and disappeared from food courts across the country. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. When Diane had her 8th birthday party at Farrell's, even the Beasley brothers were happy. Farrell's wasn't just a restaurant, it was a full-blown show. The gigantic sundaes, the candy counter, and the servers literally running with the zoo. A massive sundae in a giant bowl with sparklers on top, and a birthday siren blaring through the dining room. It was loud, chaotic, and utterly wonderful. For teenage girls, it was a dream. Enormous desserts, cute servers with bow ties, and sweet laughter that lasted for hours. Founded in 1963 in Portland, Oregon, Farrell's quickly captured America's heart. By 1975, Farrell's had expanded to over 120 locations nationwide, some of which were located within malls. However, after Marriott took over in 1972, the magic slowly faded, unable to withstand changing tastes and fierce competition. While a nostalgic revival briefly sparked in the 2000s, the final chapter quietly closed in Brea, California in 2019, bringing an end to a beloved American tradition of memorable celebrations. Among those names, which restaurant brought back the most memories for you? Share in the comments. Roy Rogers. Our Roy Rogers family restaurants are famous for our fresh roast beef sandwiches, and now I invite you to come and try our delicious hamburgers. Roy Rogers was one of the few mall dining spots that let you customize your meal. Roy Rogers had a fixins bar with pickles, onions, lettuce, tomatoes, and Roy's signature sweet BBQ sauce that transformed a simple burger into a legend. The place had a Western feel with wood paneling, a horseshoe logo, and maybe even a bit of country music on the speakers. You could order a roast beef sandwich or a fried chicken platter and feel like you were getting a real meal at the mall. The biggest draw was that fixins bar. Everyone had their own way of piling it high, adding sauce and turning a basic sandwich into a masterpiece. Roy Rogers had an undeniable charm, blending hearty American meals with a Western flair. However, as fast food chains with simpler menus began to dominate, Roy Rogers gradually disappeared from many malls. The Magic Pan. If you were lucky enough to dine at the Magic Pan, you might remember the thrill of watching fresh crepes being made in a unique spinning pan. The Magic Pan brought a touch of France to the mall, serving both sweet and savory crepes, feeling luxurious yet accessible. Imagine strolling through the mall and treating yourself to a creamy chicken-stuffed crepe or a rich chocolate one, all with a hint of Parisian flair in every bite. This wasn't fast food, it was culinary theater. The Magic Pan wasn't just about crepes, it was about the experience, with its plush interiors and a touch of refinement you wouldn't find at typical mall eateries. The chain first launched in the 1960s and peaked in the 70s and early 80s. But as food court trends shifted towards faster, simpler fare, the Magic Pan gradually couldn't keep up with the quicker pace. Eventually it disappeared, leaving a sweet memory for those who still recall their last crepe there. Great Steak and Potato Company. The Great Steak and Potato Company was a mall food court classic that combined the heartiest cheesesteak sandwiches with loaded baked potatoes. Imagine a fresh, hot cheesesteak, made to order, piled high with peppers, onions, and melted cheese, paired with a giant baked potato overflowing with sour cream, bacon, and chives. For anyone looking for a truly filling meal, Great Steak and Potato was the ideal choice. Did you ever feel that mall food court dilemma where you wanted something more substantial than just a slice of pizza? This place was the answer, delivering comfort food done right every single time. Pup and Taco. Can we go back tomorrow? Founded in 1956 in Pasadena, California, Pup and Taco quickly became a local favorite. Pup and Taco was a weird fusion of American and Mexican fast food, a place where you could grab both a hot dog and a taco in one go. Imagine, a hot dog in one hand, a crunchy taco in the other. Pup and Taco offered a unique combination that satisfied every craving, whether you wanted a chili dog or a bean burrito. Did you ever think about a time when food wasn't so strictly categorized? Pup and Taco was ahead of its time, blending flavors and cultures in a fun and fresh way. The chain had over 100 locations in Southern California and a few in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In the 80s, Pup and Taco locations were acquired by Taco Bell, and the brand gradually disappeared, with the last location in Albuquerque closing in 2013. Wag's Restaurant, owned by Walgreens. Here's a name that surprises many. Wag's, the restaurant owned by Walgreens. Yes, the drugstore chain. In the late 70s and early 80s, Walgreens decided that if people were coming in for shampoo and photo prints, they might as well stick around for pancakes and coffee. Wag's was their answer to Denny's or IHOP, a full-service diner located in malls and shopping centers. You could get a hot turkey sandwich, a burger and fries, or a stack of pancakes at any time of day. It wasn't fast food and it wasn't fancy, but it hit the spot, especially after a few hours of mall walking in flats. They had vinyl-covered booths, laminated menus, and old-school diner service where everyone was called Honey. It was cozy, reliable, and utterly unexpected coming from a place famous for selling aspirin. But by the early 90s, Walgreens had shuttered the whole thing. If you could bring one mall food court restaurant back today, which one would it be and why? I'm so curious to hear your pick. Kenny Rogers Roasters. Introducing Kenny's brand new BBQ chicken, cooked to perfection and marinated in rich sauce. Try our delicious BBQ chicken today. Kenny Rogers Roasters, that's good eatin'. Before rotisserie chicken became a grocery store staple, there was Kenny Rogers Roasters. This wasn't just a food court spot, it was a place to sit down and enjoy a hearty, home-cooked style meal. Founded by country music star Kenny Rogers and John Y. Brown Jr. in 1991, Kenny Rogers Roasters brought charcoal rotisserie chicken to mall food courts. Despite competition from rival brands like KFC and Boston Chicken, the chain grew to about 350 locations. Besides the chicken, diners loved the fluffy corn muffins and Southern-style side dishes. It was even famous enough to be featured in an episode of Seinfeld. Despite its pop culture success, the chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1998. If you're craving the chain's signature rotisserie chicken or corn muffins, you'll be happy to know it still exists. But you'll need to fly to Asia to satisfy your craving, as the chain's remaining locations are scattered across Asia, where it's thriving with hundreds of locations. Blimpie. Established in 1964 by three high school friends from New Jersey, Blimpie was one of the pioneers of the sub-style sandwich chain model. Fresh, made to order, and with endless customization options, sub sandwiches were a natural fit for the mall crowd. And because sub shops allowed you to customize your sandwich with healthier options like vegetables, whole wheat bread, or leaner meats, it was often seen as a healthier choice compared to other fast food chains. Inspired by another local sub shop that would later become Jersey Mike's, Blimpie quickly found its market and expanded to about 1,800 locations. But while rival chain Subway launched just a year later, Subway went on to thrive and expand into the giant it is today, with locations in all 50 states. Meanwhile, Blimpie steadily declined in popularity and shrunk to about 200 stores. A bad combination of ownership changes, difficulties with franchise expansion, and financial balancing issues all led to the gradual reduction of locations. Today, you're more likely to find them in gas stations or standalone locations rather than in mall food courts. Mr. Fables. If you're from West Michigan, chances are your mall trips included a stop at your local Mr. Fables for a burger and onion rings. Located in malls throughout the area, this fast food burger chain was best known for its unique burgers, like the olive burger, and secret recipes for its onion ring batter and burger sauce. Originally, the eatery opened in 1929 as a QP franchise, one of the earliest fast food hamburger chains. Over the years, owner and operator Gerald Boyles adapted the chain's recipes and added his own touches. Seeing the potential in his father's innovations, his son John Boyles bought the location with his cousin Dick Faber in 1963 and renamed it Mr. Fables, a portmanteau of the two new owners' last names. With locations in popular malls like Grand Rapids Woodland Mall and Holland's West Shore Mall, the burger brand expanded to 17 locations around the West Michigan area. After selling to Colonel Chicken Incorn in 1988 with hopes of becoming a national chain, the business struggled and began to decline, with the last location closing in 2000. But its signature secret recipes are still fondly remembered by locals who are still trying to crack what made that onion ring batter and burger sauce so good. Pretzel Time. Reddit is rife with threads lamenting the loss of Pretzel Time, a mall food court favorite. And as many people recall being drawn away from Sam Goody, Radio Shack, or Walden Books by the tantalizing aroma of fresh, hot pretzels, Auntie Anne's simply doesn't compare to Pretzel Time. Some Redditors say they made special trips to the mall just for these pretzels, and it's no wonder. Others, who supposedly worked there, recall making the pretzels right there in the mall. And if that's not a great marketing strategy, we don't know what is. So, what happened? In 2007, Pretzel Time and its sister pretzel chain Pretzel Maker were acquired by Nexen Brands, Inc. The company paid Mrs. Fields $29.4 million for the two chains, and in a press release announcing the acquisition, the company promised more locations and additional franchising opportunities. The plan seemed great, but it appears to have been short-lived. By 2010, the two chains had merged. Pieces of the Pretzel Time logo were integrated into a new shared logo under the name Pretzel Maker, and the chain got a new look and color scheme. While this move seems to have been successful, with over 280 locations by 2024, the distinct Pretzel Time brand is gone. Wyatt's Cafeteria. Wyatt's Cafeteria was another once popular mall hangout that made a fleeting appearance in Stranger Things. At the time the show was set, this cafeteria had been around for about 5 decades. Based on the fond memories shared by so many Redditors, Wyatt's was the source of fun family times, the kind you looked forward to on Friday nights. The food was described as endless, glorious, and full of options, including taking double or triple servings of dessert. What led to the demise of this mall favorite isn't entirely clear, but in 1995, the corporation filed for bankruptcy. Along with the announcement was a statement from the CEO of Triangle Food Service, who said, "What made this 65-year-old company a great cafeteria chain was gone forever by the time we obtained board control last June." Those words sounded especially dire, and that's exactly what happened. Wyatt's was acquired by Luby's, a similar cafeteria chain, but that wasn't the savior Wyatt's needed. When the last remaining Wyatt's closed in 2003, industry experts noted that it wasn't entirely surprising, as cafeterias had been struggling for a while. The original cookie company. Sure, you can make chocolate chip cookies at home, but there's just something about the mall shopping experience and those soft, fresh out of the oven, perfectly priced cookies. Currently, over 300 Mrs. Fields stores are still delivering delicious cookies to customers from the US to Australia, but there was a time when there was a competing cookie company in town. However, there are very few details about the history of the original cookie company, which seemed to be fading into obscurity until it was acquired in 1977. The buyer was Joseph Cole, who built a fortune from a successful World War II-era key shop to the point where he could buy out rivals and other businesses, including the original cookie company and another familiar mall staple, Things Remembered. Cole expanded the chain quite rapidly, targeting malls and opening dozens of stores. Perhaps not surprisingly, there was only enough room for so many cookie companies in malls, and in 1996, Mrs. Fields and the original cookie company were acquired by the same corporation. This corporation merged the two brands and renamed them Mrs. Fields Original Cookie Company Incorporated. Unfortunately, only a handful of locations bearing the original name survived into the new millennium. Do you remember any other unique mall food court spots in your town that we didn't mention? Don't hesitate to let us know. Chicken George. If you don't remember Chicken George, you seriously missed out. This Baltimore-based chain first opened in 1979 and grew rapidly throughout the 1980s, opening locations in 5 states on both coasts of the country. It reached Los Angeles in 1985, and according to fond memories shared on social media platforms, they served some seriously delicious chicken and biscuits. Their dirty rice was also a huge hit, and connoisseurs say no modern chicken chain can compare. Around the same time the company opened locations in Atlanta, Philadelphia, and New Jersey, they began to face financial difficulties and eventually filed for bankruptcy. Once the largest black-owned fast food company in the country, the chain changed hands in 1989, and the new owners stated their intention to revive the company and get it back on its feet. However, all efforts were too little, too late, and in 1991, Chicken George officially dissolved its business. China Coast. One of the hallmarks of the American mall food court was the fast casual American Chinese restaurant, serving up tasty lo mein, crispy egg rolls, and sauce-smothered General Tso's chicken for hungry shoppers. For a brief time in the early to mid-1990s, China Coast aimed to be that beloved spot. When the first location opened in Orlando, Florida in 1990, China Coast seemed poised for success. Its parent company was General Mills Restaurants, Inc., with a portfolio that included classics like Olive Garden and, at the time, Red Lobster. Hoping to appeal to American diners, the menu focused heavily on Americanized Chinese dishes like China Coast bread, a steamed bun topped with amaretto almond sauce, along with more familiar items like General Tso's chicken, hot and sour soup, and jingjiang platters with egg rolls, crispy noodles, vegetable sticks, and dipping sauces. Other non-Chinese dishes also had China-inspired names, like the dessert called the Great Wall of Chocolate. After achieving some success in the Orlando area, the chain expanded nationwide in 1993. At its peak, China Coast had 51 locations, but its expansion also led to its downfall. The brand faced financial difficulties and fierce competition from local Chinese restaurants in other markets. Caramel corn. While many restaurants are associated with mall food courts, some of those chains actually have a history that predates the emergence of malls themselves. A prime example is Caramel Corn, a popcorn vendor that made a name for itself by popping fresh gourmet popcorn with flavors like caramel, butter, and yellow cheddar cheese. In 1929, nearly 3 decades before the first indoor mall opened in the 1950s, Caramel Corn was established. Starting from its headquarters in Casper, Wyoming, the brand began selling chewy caramel popcorn and other savory popcorn flavors from licensed vendors and downtown storefronts. But as malls emerged in the mid-1900s, Caramel Corn began operating standalone stores within shopping centers and indoor malls. By the 1980s, there were 270 locations in 43 states, offering shoppers the perfect sweet or savory snack to accompany their errands. Then, in the late 1980s, Dairy Queen acquired Caramel Corn to begin selling its products alongside its own frozen desserts and Orange Julius drinks at Triple Treat Dairy Queen treat centers. It was the decay of American malls and a lack of support from its parent company that led to the closure of most Caramel Corn stores. Rax Roast Beef. For good, affordable food in a more grown-up dining environment. Rax Roast Beef was Arby's quirky rival, a fast food spot that took the roast beef sandwich to the next level with its unique Rax experience. Known for its roast beef sandwiches that were a little different, Rax also had a range of menu items from curly fries to milkshakes, and even a salad bar. Imagine a fast food restaurant with an atmosphere somewhere between a burger joint and a salad bar, offering you choices beyond just meat and bread. Rax had a distinct style, one that invited you to sit down and enjoy your meal rather than rushing through it. Launched in the late 1960s, Rax positioned itself as Arby's more adventurous cousin. Roast beef was the star, of course, but the experience went beyond that. With curly fries, milkshakes, baked potatoes, and even a full salad bar, this place offered variety at a time when most menus stuck to the basics. Some locations even had glassed-in rooms with plants and natural light, giving Rax a cafe-like ambiance unlike anything else in its category. Ultimately, a wave of fast food competitors pushed Rax into the shadows. Stores closed, the menu shrunk, and the brand gradually disappeared from the mainstream. Chick-fil-A Dwarf House. Welcome to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's Dwarf House was a legendary Southern experience tucked away in some mall food courts. Imagine walking by and spotting a miniature version of the restaurant that started it all, complete with its famous chicken sandwiches and a touch of Southern hospitality. The Dwarf House was quite quirky, sometimes even featuring a tiny door for kids to walk through, and it served not only classic Chick-fil-A sandwiches, but also a wider range of Southern-style dishes like corn muffins and collard greens. Did you ever think how cool it would be to order Chick-fil-A with a side of nostalgia? While Chick-fil-A grew into the fast food giant we know today, the Dwarf House remains a charming reminder of the brand's beginnings. Over time, the Dwarf House concept became rarer as larger Chick-fil-A locations took over mall food courts and beyond. Britling Cafeterias. Few places could serve up stews and mashed potatoes with the same grace as Britling Cafeterias. Launched in 1919 in Birmingham, Alabama, Britling was named after an H.G. Wells novel, a literary nod that framed a dining experience both profound and comforting. Long before fast food or mall food courts dominated American eating habits, Britling offered a slower, more personal approach. With gleaming serving lines and friendly staff behind the glass, diners moved like clockwork, selecting hearty dishes that felt home-cooked. Over time, Britling locations expanded into shopping centers and eventually mall spaces. Not quite a permanent food court fixture, but close enough to draw hungry crowds with its signature Southern fare. Their motto, "Good food is good health," wasn't just a slogan. It was a mission. By the 1980s, the chain had quietly disappeared, overtaken by newer trends. Harvest House Cafeteria. Before food courts overflowed with plastic trays and self-serve soda machines, there was a place where lunch felt more like Sunday dinner than a quick stop. Harvest House Cafeteria was a quiet cornerstone of the food court in its earliest days. Born from the Woolworth five and dime empire, Harvest House began serving ice cream and hot meals long before malls boomed. By the 1960s, they found their way into shopping centers, offering weary shoppers a place to rest from browsing shelves with hearty sit-down meals for just over $1. That's right, a full, warm, and filling dinner for less than a cup of coffee today. Some locations were surprisingly luxurious for a mall cafeteria. Imagine burgundy carpets, faux leather seats, brick walls, and windows looking out onto the bustling corridor. There was a comforting feel there, a slower pace that seemed out of place amidst the increasing rush of the retail industry around it. By the 1990s, as Woolworth stores began to disappear, Harvest House followed suit. But their legacy lives on in every modern mall food court, which tries in its own way to combine convenience with something more personal. These mall restaurants may have disappeared, but their flavors and memories live on. They were an integral part of the mall experience, bursting with flavors and memories we still crave today. The power of nostalgia is undeniable. If this video brought you back to beautiful memories, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next exciting trip down memory lane. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.